Why? Why?
Why can't you trust yourself?
Are you being your true self?
Things that truly light up my soul.
If you died tomorrow, are you happy with the life you've lived?
Welcome to the Travel Not to Escape podcast. I'm your host, Jolene on the Go, solo female traveler and creative entrepreneur. Think of me as your skydive instructor, empowering you to take the leap into solo travel to push past your fears and transform your life. Join me every Tuesday as we explore the world of solo travel with purpose and discover how you can use it for your personal transformation, learn how to make meaningful connections around the world, and reignite your spirit of play. We aren't just talking about traveling to find ourselves anymore. We're all about doing the work to understand who we authentically are, breaking through our limiting beliefs, and taking the leaps to manifest lives we are excited about. Through interviews, solo episodes, and meditations, each episode is packed with practical tips, strategies, and inspiring stories from guests who have transformed their lives through solo travel. Whether you're a seasoned traveler or just starting out on your journey, the Travel Not to Escape podcast is here to inspire and empower you to solo travel with purpose. Strap on your helmet. We're about to jump headfirst into the journey of a lifetime. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome, navigators, to this week's episode of Travel Not to Escape. In season 1, we had so many beautiful conversations with over 30 women who've used solo travel as a catalyst to change their lives. They all went through some type of moment where they felt stuck, felt like they weren't living their lives fully, or feeling really inauthentic. Right on the cusp of something, and they knew they wanted more out of life, but didn't know exactly what and how to make those changes. And while when we had those conversations with them, they had already made it through some of those darker moments, we recognized that life is like a wheel and things come in waves, both the good and the bad. Personally, 2024 has been a really rough year for me, one that's pushed me to again sit in the stillness of self-reflection. So if this resonates, then this episode is for you. In today's episode, I'm going to share questions from 5 of our past guests, and these are self-reflection questions that they realized were integral in their transformation. And we're going to go through each one today to help you jumpstart your own journey. And as a reminder before we start, if you want to also use solo travel as a catalyst for your transformation, but are hesitant to take that leap, head to travelnottoescape.com/go and download the free Solo Travel Confidence Workbook. I've compiled a list of key questions to ask yourself before you start your journey so you can create a solo travel trip you feel confident about. Okay, now let's dive in. In one of my rock bottom moments, I kept asking myself, what is the point? I was 26, working a job that stressed me out. I had a 10-year-long relationship at that point that I was unhappy in. And I didn't really feel like I had friends that I could turn to, I could be really vulnerable with. And at that moment, I had found out that a friend from high school had passed away. I was scrolling through social media. We weren't super close, but we had done some projects together in school, and I remember scrolling on social media and seeing a photo of her. It was one of the last photos she posted, and she was standing next to a sign that read, "If your life flashed before your eyes, would it be worth watching?" And there was an outpouring of comments from some of my high school friends, and realizing that for her, she was living a career that she loved, she had been working towards. She was living in New York, in a city she had always wanted to live in. And I couldn't help but think, wow, her life really did flash right before her eyes, right before our eyes. At 26, it had been 8 years since our graduation and since I last saw her. And there was a lot of feelings that I had from that moment. When I asked myself that same question, I realized that my answer was very quickly no. And it haunted me, both the realization of it and also the feeling of not knowing what to do with this information. I had asked my boyfriend at the time, what is the point? And he told me, I can't answer that for you. So I just kept going through and ruminating these thoughts and asking myself, what is the point? Like, my life, if my life flashed before my eyes, I wouldn't be happy. So now what do I do? So at work, I would go to the bathroom and cry, or cry on the stairwell. And finally one morning, during one of my stairwell cries, I I was just so frustrated, and I Google searched a bunch of these thoughts. And the universe sent me a therapist who I would then see for 2 years, the next 2 years, and she helped me change my life. And she did that, and she was able to do that because of the questions that she asked that I was always afraid to sit and ask myself. And that was because I would get overwhelmed and not actually push myself to get to the answers. It was a lot easier to go through distractions of alcohol or travel or doing a lot of other things, being a workaholic, than it was to answer some of these really hard self-reflection questions. But when I actually went through, asked the questions, and made the changes so that I was happier with the answers, that's when I really was able to start living my life and traveling not to escape, which is the whole premise of this podcast. So as you're listening to some of these questions today, I just want to remind you all that it might stir up a lot of emotions for you. And that's normal. That's part of the process. So be kind to yourself. Seek the support that you need, whether it's formal support through therapy and coaches or through community. There is a Travel Not to Escape community on Facebook that you can reach out to, or message me directly through the Travel Not to Escape Instagram. And I can help you with resources. This work of transformation is a journey with a lot of twists and turns and layers. Today, we're just starting out together. So I just want to remind you all to be kind as we're diving in. This first question that you'll hear is from Elke, who we spoke to in episode 30. Elke is a digital nomad originally from Costa Rica and currently living and building community in Medellin, Colombia. Let's listen to her question.
If you died tomorrow, are you happy with the life you've lived?
This first question from Elke was similar to the question I had, which was, if your life flashed before your eyes, would it be worth watching? And I recommend you listen to this podcast and pull the questions from the show notes after and do some journaling. Take yourself out on a nice solo date, either to a cafe or even do a nice stay in. Maybe order yourself some dinner or make some dinner and create a space for you that is nice and welcoming and inviting, that will put you at ease and put you in the right mindset and headspace to go through some of these questions. This particular question is meant to pull you out from your day-to-day perspective and think about your life as a whole. What pops up when you hear this question? Are the things that you've set aside, things you've always wanted to do but have not yet done for whatever reason? Relationships with family, friends, or other loved ones that have gone cold that you would wish that you could invest more time in? Really sit and think about this and just try to understand what's coming up for you in this very moment that you're asking yourself that question. This next question is from Ariel, and she's from episode 19, the founder of Tranquility Rising, and her story is so interesting, so definitely hop into that episode. But she transformed her life from working as a high-stress corrections officer in a state prison to currently a holistic healer. And let's listen to her question.
Yeah, it definitely goes back to the authenticity piece. Are you being your true self? Because I know I always have this fear of being judged and wanting to fit in. And so trying to mold to the situation or a specific group of people. And honestly, it doesn't create lasting relationships when you're doing that. So the question that I always like to ask myself, even now, and wish I could have coached my younger self to understand that question much more critically, is, are you being your true self? Because it is crucial for transformation. You have to be truthful with yourself too. You can't hide. Are you being your truest self?
Yeah. So after asking yourself if you're happy with the life you've lived so far, this was a great question to now start to really peel back those layers. If you're not happy, or maybe if you are happy, ask yourself the question, are you being your truest self? Are you being authentically you? What does authentically you mean? And if you're not, then in what ways are you conforming to what other people are wanting you to be or act? And start to peel back those layers. The next question comes from Lindsay Dukes, founder of the Medicine Connective, and is an experienced curator. And she shares in her episode 24, all about her journey from really having this moment in her kitchen, breaking down and crying and realizing that she had checked all the boxes in her life and wasn't happy, wasn't fulfilled, and then had to then sit with some of these self-reflection questions that kept popping up in her head to deconstruct the life she built to create one that she actually enjoyed living. So let's listen to her question.
Why? Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you act the way you act? Why do you react the way you react? Why do you feel the way you feel? Is it because that's what you are feeling, or is that what you've been told you should feel? Is that because that's what you've been told you should believe? Is this how you've been modeled to act and react? So I would immediately flip it on myself into self-reflection, be like, whoa, is this actually me, or is this just what I've known? And how do I undo all of that so I can figure out who I am and how I actually do feel?
We get through a lot of crossroads in our lives, and we have to sit in these moments and understand, how did we get here? And what were the choices, and what are my choices moving forward? If you're at a crossroads right now, start to peel back those layers and really dig into the why. There's this method of asking yourself why 7 times. So asking the question and then really going deeper until you feel good with the answer that finally arises. And most times you don't even realize what it is until you're down that black hole. But ask yourself all the whys that Lindsay brought up, but dig even deeper than that. And once you really understand what your current state is and dissect all of that, then it's time to create and design what the path is like moving forward. So if you know that you're not 100% fulfilled in the path that you've led thus far, and you've solidified that in the last few questions, then it's asking yourself, what life do you want to live? And what sparks your soul? And how do you get there? So the next couple of guests really highlight the importance of these questions for those next few steps. Our next guest is Yuri. Her episode is 28, and she made a huge shift in living a career as a CPA to now as a digital nomad, traveling the world. She's currently in Buenos Aires, but she's gone through a whole transformative journey as well. So let's listen.
I wish I would have put more energy toward discovering the things that truly light up my soul, that genuinely make me happy, give me energy, and don't add in the how will I make money from this or what will people think about this. Just really connect with the part of me that feels joy, happy, peace. Because had I done that, I feel like things could have sped up and I could have made it easier on myself, but I got there eventually. And answering what that is, for me, it's music. Music is my biggest joy, my number one love. And so much has come to my life after I acknowledged that. But I wished at a younger age, I could have spent more time listening to music, playing around in music, being curious about music, sharing music, and not think, once again, how will I make money from this, or what will people think about me, or whatever.
The reason I always ask what your favorite childhood activity was at the beginning of every episode is because it starts to get you down to thinking about what actually sparks your soul again, what lights you up, what are the things that you used to do when you were a kid that it didn't matter if you made money or not, it just was joyful and you did it instinctively. So this question really prompts you to get back into that moment and ask yourself what sparks you, and doing things that do just for the sake of doing them. If you need a bit of a help to figure that out, ask yourself what your favorite childhood activity was, or dive into my free play personality quiz. That's at travelnotsescape.com/play. And that's just going to be a quick quiz for you to really start to ask yourself this question as well, and get some recommendations on some activities that you can try if you don't necessarily have hobbies that come to mind right now. This next question is from Kristen Vieira, episode 22. And she is a remote career and lifestyle coach. So she coaches people through a lot of these same questions that come up in these pivotal moments that we're talking about. So I really love her question. Let's dive in.
Rewind to what we talked about, being in San Francisco, feeling super stuck in a job and trying to figure out what the missing piece was and having this itch but not acting for like over a year before I really did the whole storage, book the ticket thing. And a question is, why can't you trust yourself and your intuition? Because I think had I asked myself that then, it would be like, yeah, everything's telling me I want to do this. What's keeping me from doing it? And I think it's easy to say now, but after building a deeper understanding of intuition and a connection to it, it's more of a no-brainer of, oh yeah, if I'm feeling this way, I need to do that. So asking that question to yourself is what's keeping you from that trust. If your inner guide is giving clear signal.
Sometimes we already know what it is that we want to do, but we aren't making those changes towards that vision because we are holding ourselves back in some way. And a lot of the times there's some form of trust that we need to build in ourselves in order to actually take that leap. So Kristen's question is such a great one to ponder over.
I think maybe I would just ask my younger self what she thinks her future is going to look like or what she expects her future to be, just so I can giggle at myself and be like, ha, you thought this is really what you thought you were going to be. Surprised. This is the reality.
And we're closing off with Elke's last statement because this is actually an exercise that at the end of this journaling session, as you have gone through these 5 different questions from all of these lovely guests, I think it's always great to leave off with sitting with yourself and asking, where do you see yourself in the future? I recommend filming a video to you from you. I do this every 3 months, and I actually set a calendar invite on my calendar and I throw in the Google Drive link so that I actually have the video linked as well, and I will watch it. And I've also done this with friends where we'll record our videos together and we'll have joint calendar invites and we'll watch it together for a review of where we thought we would be and the goals that we had for that moment, and also a message to our future selves from our past selves. And it's always great because yes, you can journal, and yes, you can write things down and read it again. You can even look back at photos and try to remember, but there's something different that happens when you actually see your past self in that environment that they were in, with the emotions that you can see through your eyes, and hearing your own voice talk to you from the past. There's really something that changes with me actually seeing that past version, what they were going through. So highly recommend, as you're finishing out answering some of these questions from today, to record a little video blog for yourself and schedule it on your calendar for the 3 months from now, because you are going to be surprised at how much has changed and also how little has changed. And you can reflect at that point whether you're going the right direction or you need to reassess or double down on certain aspects or in choices that you made. I hope that this episode has resonated with you, that you were able to take some of these key questions that some of these guests have posed and start to think about whether you're in the right place right now, and if there are some changes in your life that you already are feeling like you need to change but are just a bit hesitant to do. I hope that some of these questions are pushing you to the right direction. Again, change doesn't happen in a day, and these questions are going to bring up some rather hard feelings potentially. So be kind to yourself and seek the support that you need to continue on this journey. Thank you again for listening to this episode, and I will see you all in the next adventure. And right before we leave off, as I mentioned, we do have a Facebook group. Head over, it's in the show notes, and join the Travel Not to Escape Facebook group, because I know that some feelings, some emotions are coming up, and I want to make sure that you have a support system or at least some guidance to help you continue on this journey. You are not alone, even though you're journaling on your own or you're taking yourself on a solo date. You are not alone. There's community out there. There are people that are wanting to help you and have gone through a lot of the similar things that you've gone through in the past. So definitely feel free to reach out, join the Facebook group, DM me on Travel Not to Escape on Instagram. Okay, I will see you all next time.
Until next time, keep exploring, connecting, and playing, and safe travels, navigators.